We're continuing to follow breaking news this morning. Former Vice President Joe Biden announcing his run for president. He joins a crowded field of Democrats. And joining me this morning is Wright State political science professor Lee Hanna with what we can expect as we gear up for the primaries. The video posted to YouTube, he came out swinging against the president early on with a tough stance, condemning basically the president's remarks, going back as far as the rally at Charlottesville. Do you expect him to be a fighter when it comes to this race?
I believe so. I believe that I was a bit surprised, to be honest, but in some ways it does make sense that he thinks, he's best equipped to, kind of stand toe-to-toe with President Trump and that really tough bravado that the president has. And so he's, immediately coming out with that message. And it also maybe is a way to, his biggest critics are, have essentially argued that he may be either too moderate or, he's just been around for too long. And so that could be a way for him to make an argument about why his entrance is important into this race.
As we look forward to the future, what is going to be his main strategy? He comes into this race as more of a moderate candidate when you have a lot of candidates like Bernie Sanders, who's more on the far left of things.
The big pitch he's going to make is electability, and that's going to be the real battle within the Democratic primary, where some argue that they lost in 2016 because there wasn't enthusiasm, there wasn't passion from the real activist base, while others argue that they didn't really have an across-the-aisle approach. And so Biden is going to come in with that argument that he's the across-the-aisle type of candidate, the one that can actually win in November. And in the next 48 hours, see him in all of these states, the blue wall, the states that the Democrats lost in 2016, holding rallies. I have heard that he knows that it's important that he has a big fundraising number that comes out of the first 24 hours that sends a message that he's not only in this race, but he's the front runner. That's going to be his push.
He's getting a late start on fundraising, getting a late start on campaigning as well. Numbers in New Hampshire recently said that Bernie Sanders is actually about 7 or 8 points ahead of him at this point. Is he getting in too late?
I think, given his stature, he is probably going to be okay, at least to get going. And I could come back in 3 weeks and tell you why I'm wrong. But more than likely, I think he'll be okay because he is a household name as someone who's been on national tickets, been in politics for years. He is, as you mentioned, he is trailing in New Hampshire. His polling looks pretty good in Iowa and other places. And another advantage he has, which is kind of similar to what Trump had, is that there are a number of candidates that are kind of fighting for the same cohort of voters that are all in that 5, 6, 7% range, where Biden is a bit different from many of those candidates, and so he could kind of have his own lane towards the nomination.
Dr. Lee Hanna, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're going to continue to follow this breaking story all morning long, both on air and online at fox45now.com.